Hello everybody and welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. Good morning, happy Saturday. It is early. I have my coffee, so I might have to make a couple coffee breaks this morning to get us going, but that's okay. To those of you guys who are in the chat and you're here watching early, thank you for joining me. It's nice to be back. I am here to talk to everybody this morning about the impending eclipse that we have coming, the Sagittarius lunar eclipse that's taking place on May 26th. I hope this last week has been treating all of you guys very well. I am stoked to be getting into this eclipse for you this morning. I feel like I'm already feeling the energy. How are you guys doing with it? Let me know if you're feeling it, because usually a couple of weeks prior to an eclipse, we start kind of feeling that energy shift. But now that we're only a matter of days away, we are definitely getting into those wormholes and vortexes and all of those funky energies. So this is going to be my weekly video that I'm doing for the transits. I may talk a little bit about what's going on right now, but there's going to be much more of an emphasis on this eclipse. As you guys know, eclipses come in pairs. So this is the first eclipse of 2021 in the sign of Sagittarius. It is a full moon, so being that it's an eclipse, it's going to be a full moon on steroids. And it will be followed in 2 weeks by a new moon eclipse that is going to be taking place, and it'll be a solar eclipse, so it's action-packed. And that will be in June, around June 10th in Gemini. There will be a video to follow, so don't worry about that. I will touch a little bit on that today and why this eclipse is actually a big piece of the puzzle. So let's go ahead and get into it, guys. Hi, everybody. Good morning. I see you. Good morning. Good morning. All right, so let's talk a little bit about eclipses first. So we've got lunar eclipses and we've got solar eclipses. A lunar eclipse is a full moon, right? And every month we have that full moon, that opposition between the sun and the moon, highlighting some kind of area in our life, highlighting some kind of big situation, some closures, and even good things. We can see fulfillment happen during a full moon. However, this is a full moon, which is an eclipse. So eclipses are moments in time that take place about 6 months apart that start things and end things. So I see during eclipse season, right, about a week or two on each side of an eclipse, people move, relationships end, people get engaged, babies are born, there's new jobs, there's all kinds of endings and beginnings that are taking place. And when I look at eclipses, there's a couple of ways that I see this. Number one, everything goes during eclipse season. Like some of the craziest stuff can happen during eclipses. Overall, I think this is a pretty positive eclipse, to be honest with you. There's quite a few lovely aspects. I just feel like everything is going to feel magnified because this is a Jupiter-ruled eclipse. And to those of you guys who don't know, Jupiter just changed signs. It moved into Pisces. Check out my videos on my page. I just did about an hour-long video on Jupiter's ingress into Pisces and what I expect to be happening as a result of that transit. And I'll keep coming back to that intermittently throughout the year because Jupiter's only going to spend about 3 months in that sign before he retrogrades back into Sagittarius. So yummy little slice of time right now this summer where we're going to get some insight into what Jupiter in Pisces has to offer us, right? And Jupiter in Pisces, it's happy there. It's the original OG ruler of that mutable water sign. So check out that video if you want more on that. But this eclipse, you know, overall, even though I do think it's rather intense, I do think it's going to be quite positive. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's very optimistic. And I definitely see more positive change happening rather than like, oh my God, what's happening? I think that's more the eclipse that's happening next month. If you have any planets around, let's say 3 to 7 degrees of a mutable sign, right? Gemini, Virgo, Sag, or Pisces, you are really going to feel this eclipse. if you are a Sagittarius or a Sag rising, especially within like that 0 to maybe even 7 degrees rising, pay attention. This is a big eclipse for you. This is going to change something, usher you into a new cycle. It's closing chapters on a personal level for you. It can very much affect your body or your appearance, your style even. I'll get into all of the 12 signs and how it's going to affect all of you guys at the end, and I'll pull some cards for you as well. But back to the eclipse. So big emotional changes, big emotional releases. Change is inevitable with eclipses, and anything goes. These are karmic times, right? So I see the eclipse season as being portals where karmic situations play out, you know, soulmates come into our life, big events happen that are here to project us forward. And with help of Jupiter, the biggest planet in the solar system, Jupiter has plans for us that are so big that in Pisces, we cannot even see what is in store yet. Because remember, sometimes Pisces is invisible. Jupiter is gas, right? So when I look at the square that we're experiencing from Jupiter in Pisces to the moon in Sag, to the sun in Gemini, change is the word that comes to mind for me. And it's almost like this manifestational change where we're still working on, you know, all of our ideas, all of our manifestations. We have to ground it out. And that's what I love about mutable signs. I mean, and this is coming from somebody who has no mutable signs in their chart. I'm all fixed or cardinal. So I'm just like, what do you mean we have to change? We got to stay the course. But what many people don't understand is that the seasons mirror the signs. So what I love about mutable energy is it always comes at the tail end of a season, and it really helps us change and evolve and grow into the next season. So for example, Gemini is, oh, that's pretty, that's shiny, that's fun, this is great, this is amazing, and wants to talk about something and communicate and get the point across right before it ingresses and it begins to move into Cancer. And Cancer does not hesitate to go, boom, it's summertime. What are we protecting? What's going on with the home? What's going on with the family? So Gemini is that transition, communication-wise, and energy-wise, and busyness-wise from spring into summer. Sag, on the other hand, is that transition that moves from the fall of of Scorpio, and helps us transition into winter and kind of passes the torch off to Capricorn. So Sagittarius energy as a whole, ruled by Jupiter, very knowledgeable, it's truth-seeking. This is a full moon that's going to have you really needing to reconsider your beliefs, right? So thinking about, you know, do I really believe what I have learned, what I've been experiencing, what I've been teaching, what I've been practicing, what I've been preaching? It's also a really great time to just move away from escapism and illusions. And I say that because of the squares that are happening to Jupiter. So Jupiter squares overall, especially when it's like the sun and moon, I don't really see it being a negative aspect. I just see it being magnified, dramatic, maybe even a little bit kind of overblown, right? Like some situations are definitely going to be blown out of proportion or seem bigger than what they really are. So you want to watch out for having a tendency to just kind of overdo it emotionally, physically, especially because of the squares to the moon. So we can be over optimistic, but we can also be overly confident. We can be a little bit too of a know-it-all. So we really want to speak mindfully during the time of this eclipse. Gather information before speaking out, especially because whenever we look at the axis between Gemini and Sag, it's about facts and the bigger picture. And Gemini wants to get down to all of the details. That sun in Gemini is like information is still coming out. We're still learning. We're still moving. Things are still moving around. And then the sun, the moon in Sag is like, no, this is the bigger picture. So there can be some sense of, I think, coming out with information a little bit too soon, or maybe even like jumping to conclusions. I could see definitely jumping to conclusions being something that happens as a result of this eclipse, and just overblown emotions and people having a tendency to just blow stuff up bigger than it should be. So watch out for that. This is wrapping up something that you started back in 2020, actually in mid-December of 2020, when we had the last solar eclipse in Sagittarius. So you want to look back to what you were starting, what you were committing to, what you were manifesting during that time, because this is that 6-month mark where that intention has now fully matured. So especially if you have mutable signs on any of your angles, you're really going to see this pack a punch, and there's going to be some larger kind of changes happening in your life, because this eclipse is going to make the wheel turn. So look back at what was going on during that time. Sagittarius also deals with travel, law, rules, regulations, and I've talked a little bit about this in previous videos. I discussed how, you know, Jupiter moving into Pisces was going to be like this travel boom, and people were going to be like, I'm going out, I'm going on cruises, I'm catching a flight, I'm going on vacation. You're definitely going to see, and maybe it's as a result of what's gone on recently with the vaccinations and the changes in the regulations with at least in the States when it comes to wearing masks, but that square that we're seeing is going to be suddenly everything changes. Media, travel, lots of cultural changes, all of this stuff is going to come as a result of this eclipse. Now, always when we're dealing with Sagittarius energy, we want to roam, we want to go places, we want to learn, we want to explore. So it's going to be important to keep an open mind and not only be open to different perspectives, says the sun in Gemini, but be open to what we do not know. Be open to the status quo changing. Be open to learning something new, going somewhere that you haven't been before, changing your belief system, changing your philosophy. Now we look to Jupiter for this moon, and you know, everything's hanging out out of 5, at least between the sun and the moon. So that's very fun, playful, romantic, dramatic, creative, childlike. But right now, Jupiter is hanging out at 1 degree. So it's just the very beginning. Something is getting started. And like I said about Jupiter in Pisces, from my perspective, it's like things are starting more on a spiritual level or on an emotional level or on an energetic level. So as far as I'm concerned, this is more about magic, manifestation, setting intentions, dreams, intuition. I see nothing but really some pretty positive aspects, and we're going to go aspect by aspect through this. But you know, Jupiter is just getting started. It's only going to make its way up to about 2 and point something degrees of Pisces before it retrogrades. I am of the sound mind. Somebody's asking about rituals done during the eclipse. I don't do ritual work during eclipses because I believe eclipses are a time where energy is still shaking out. Things are not necessarily, especially during the first full moon eclipse, and then we're going to have the new moon eclipse. Some of my ritual work is done best actually after the new moon eclipse. That's going to be closer to mid-June. You're welcome to do what you want, but realize this. The energy is very, very, very strong during an eclipse. Like from my personal perspective, I try to not take sessions that day, not work with clients that day. I try to kind of stay cool, calm, and collected. I try to focus on mantras, meditation, chanting, music. I usually fast, or I won't really eat a lot during that day, only because I really want to be present with what's going on in my body. And I really want to focus on being able to integrate all of the messages and integrate the change. And I don't want to mess with that because I know that there could be something that I want to set intentions for. And then the eclipse is going to come in and be like, nope, we're actually going to do this. And so I've seen time and time again, while that energy can be very potent, I personally won't do any magic on that day. I like to wait until closer to the new moon, which will be next month. To each their own. You guys can do what you want to do. What I will say is that it is a very potent time if you're somebody who wants to charge crystals, if you want to charge amulets, if you're working with charms. The one thing that I do during eclipses is I make my products, I make my oils, I start putting all of my batches together. So when it's for example, a Sagittarius eclipse, I'm going to make Jupiter oil and maybe some other, Hydron oil and some other positive expansion oils. that are going to be with me that I can use all year. Same thing with next month. I'm going to be doing that with making some Mercury oils because it's going to be a Gemini eclipse. So for charging things, blending things, that's okay. But I know lots of people who like to do ritual work on an eclipse. So you do what you want to do. Just be mindful that the energy can fluctuate and it can change. Be careful what you wish for with this full moon, because Jupiter is, I think, kind of like the silent star of the show right now. And although he's not really moving up in degrees quite yet, what you will see next year is just a complete blowout manifestation party when Jupiter and Neptune are dancing together. So we have a lot to look forward to in 2022 when it really starts moving fully into Pisces. Something else that I like looking at is definitely Mercury aspects. Now, yes, Jupiter is the show, but we do have quite a few planets that are in Gemini. The sun is in Gemini. It is highlighting this difference between the conscious and the unconscious. Conscious being Gemini, sun in Gemini, communication, facts, contracts, movement, information, learning, language, technology, and man, Mercury is in the shadow. I can feel it. I'm having all these technical issues with everything, dropping phones, spilling coffee on laptops and all kinds of desks and things. It's been real fun this morning. Mercury is about to go retrograde. So that retrograde is going to be starting. Hold on, I guess I could look here, right? That retrograde is going to be starting, give me just a second, and I believe, what is it, the 27th or the 28th? Yeah, 29th is what it looks like, 29th, 30th. Mercury's going to go retrograde in Gemini. So much Gemini energy right now, so much mutable energy, so much opportunity to review something. I just want to remind you guys, next month we've got this eclipse, and that eclipse is going to be around 19 degrees. The sun and moon will come together, and Mercury will be retrograde conjunct the sun. So here's my little bit of advice. We don't know the whole story yet. I feel like that eclipse is probably one of the bigger events that are going to be taking place in 2021, aside from all of the gangbuster planets that we had in Aquarius in February. What that eclipse means is that there is going to be another piece of the puzzle that is going to be given to us. There will be information, facts, knowledge, conversations, messages, pieces of mail, emails that are just going to pop up next month. And we're going to be like, whoa, I didn't realize that, right? So right now, Mercury is traveling through the area that it will retrograde through, moving very closely with Venus. So if we look at Venus right now, it's at the time of the eclipse, it's going to be at 21 degrees, conjunct Mercury at 24, and it will keep moving in conjunction, connecting the heart and the mind, connecting the opportunity to discuss, open up conversation relating to money, values, finances. But this is a double-bodied sign. So, you know, and I'm not one for like fear mongering, but when I see Venus and Mercury going retrograde in conjunction, Mercury going retrograde in conjunction with Venus, there's going to be a lot of reviewing past relationships, reviewing past commitments, reviewing how we feel and how we communicate and express those values, right? So having that makes me feel like lots of people are going to hear from exes. Lots of people are going to hear from people from the past. Lots of people are going to be thinking about the past. And in this next 2 weeks, it's like, do I go left or do I go right? Right? Do I stay at this job? Do I go and see what else is out there? Do I stay in the relationship? Do I move out? And once Mercury fully gets into its retrograde and it starts making its way back into the conjunction with the eclipse next month, some other piece of information is going to come out, and that helps us kind of complete the storyline and go, aha, okay, didn't see this before, didn't see this angle, wasn't aware of this information, now I can make a change. So I will do a whole video on that, but right now there is this focus and this emphasis on our dream, Jupiter and Pisces, and you know, are we willing to let go of what we thought we knew, how we thought the story has gone thus far, how we thought our life was going to go, and what we thought we were aware of, and we realized in the next week or two, there are things that are being held for us in the ethers that has not been delivered yet, but we have to believe. Jupiter says, I believe. It's not I know. That's more kind of like Gemini. I believe is Sagittarius. So Sag likes it when we pray. He likes it when we pay attention to our gods and our goddesses and our deities, to our belief system. Be that, believing in a higher power, believing in an organized religion, leaning on your textbooks, leaning on what you know. It's going to be a really wild time. And this eclipse, while it is wrapping up 6 months worth of work, what it's really doing is it's saying to us, it's time to trust in our vision. It's time to trust in our dreams. It's time to trust in our future bigger plans. And let me tell you, Sag goes big or it goes home. And when it does have this square to Jupiter, we may have dreams of the future. We may have huge visions for where we see our life down the road. And it's going to be even bigger than we even imagined. So great time to meditate and visualize. If you really want to utilize this eclipse, take time to sit down and meditate and visualize. That's the best advice that I can give you. But here's the other thing. We are also sitting at the time of the eclipse with Mercury and Venus in a square to Neptune. So the positive side of the Mercury, Venus, Neptune square can be awesome for writing music, for writing poetry, for daydreaming, painting, creating, storytelling. There's so many yummy things here that makes me feel like it's very romantic and dreamy and fun. However, the other side of Mercury square Neptune or Venus square Neptune is, not always seeing clearly, smoke and mirrors, somebody telling you what you want to hear, you maybe not being completely forthcoming about your feelings or about your intentions. And this is very changeable because it's mutable. So I get a little nervous when I see Venus and Mercury square Neptune because it makes me feel like there's going to be a lot of people that are double dipping, right? Whether it's being like, well, I'm going to try out this job before I quit my job. I'm going to continue to keep talking to this person until I'm ready to leave my husband. I'm going to keep talking to 2 people and I'm not going to let them know. Gemini has a tendency to want to be able to have it both ways. And that's not a negative thing. They have the ability to see 2 sides of a coin. However, we are only able to really play with these 2 options for the better part of the next 2.5 weeks until we get to that eclipse. We get this other information. Mercury conjuncts the sun. Boom, the truth comes out. So if you are dealing with a situation where you don't know if somebody's being honest with you, if you feel like something's kind of fuzzy or hazy or somebody's kind of giving you the runaround, if you are trying to hide something, if you are, especially when it comes to electronics or letters, emails, things like that, facts will be exposed. And I think it's an interesting transit to be having during an eclipse because there can be a lot of okay, I'm going to say I'm going to do this, but I'm really going to do that. And in 2 weeks' time, we're going to be held accountable for whatever it is we're communicating, expressing, and talking about. So be mindful with your communication. Speak from a heart-centered space. There's a difference between being like, I want this, and I'm going to make this happen. And it's important to try to communicate as clearly as possible. Now, when it comes to getting married or getting engaged or perhaps even signing contracts, going through with big financial transactions. It's just everything here is just saying, be careful, be cautious, talk it through. Especially if you have this going on, like for example, in your second house, if you are a Taurus or a Taurus rising, this is going to be all kind of happening between your second and your 8th house axis. And that is going to make you a little bit more susceptible to challenges when it comes to purchases, joint resources, joint finances. So be aware of that. I will go through all of the different signs, so don't worry. But Mercury, as it's coming out of this square eventually next month, is going to show us why it's important to remain open to different perspectives, to be open to diversity and new experiences, being flexible with changing schedules, especially traveling, right? You can't think of like Sag or Gemini energy without some aspect of travel. And for me, it feels as if while the world may be opening up and we may see that on a global level with this eclipse, people are traveling more, the Mercury retrograde in Gemini is going to be like, okay, but what's going on locally? You know, we may find that places that are cities or states or countries away, it's like Disneyland, but you may live in parts of the world where it may still seem, as a result of the pandemic, like something's not really moving forward. Leave lots of extra time when it comes to traveling. I would say that with any Mercury retrograde, but especially this one that's coming. This makes me feel like double and triple check any travel plans you make, especially if you're booking flights, if you're booking hotels, car rentals, things like that. Really make sure that you're double and triple checking everything, because there is some room here for changeability and things that are going to shift. So be flexible with your schedule. Uncertainty, confusion, misleading information is to follow. This will most likely be most prominent for the next 2 weeks until we get to the next eclipse. So squares from Jupiter and Pisces make things bigger. It magnifies. Jupiter here is all about feelings, empathy, emotions, intuition. You know, you may have situations that come up this month where you're just like, that doesn't seem right. I don't know if I buy that. My gut is telling me otherwise. Listen to those feelings. Remember, Jupiter is seeking truth. And what Jupiter in Pisces wants to do is teach you how to be open intuitively and be aware of what you do and do not believe in. Sometimes the facts or the documents or the paperwork or the conversations will not match what your intuition is telling you. The good news is that there is lots of blessings and all kinds of good things that we cannot see, but you must believe. Reading a little bit of the comments. Yeah, the retrogrades are going to be nuts. Yesterday, my ex-husband Taurus and her spouse contacted me minutes apart. Yep, that's going to happen. And spiritual warfare. Yeah, lots of spiritual warfare going on. You'll see more of that when Jupiter comes closer to a conjunction with Neptune next year. So let's go aspect per aspect really quick, and let's look at all of these and talk a little bit about how these aspects are going to play out. Then I want to talk to you guys about what's going to happen for each of the 12 signs and pull some cards for you. So how does that sound? Coffee break, sorry. I am not a morning person. I wanted to get this out before I started my day. Otherwise, I may not have done it. I've been busy, y'all. I've been real busy. If you guys haven't noticed, coming on here and trying to do content for you at least once a week. I've got my tarot videos out. Check those out so you can see the spreads and the things that are coming up for you for the rest of May. I've also been working hard with Mike the Peace Dealer. We have my podcast that I've been doing, the Midheaven podcast, which is going out weekly. It's dropping on Sundays on Anchor and on Mondays on YouTube. And you can watch my podcast with Mike, where we hang out, drink beers, talk about astrology and what's going on in the world, and make people laugh, because that's what we need more of in the world. Also, if you guys haven't checked it out, I have a whole line of t-shirts, bags, pillows, all kinds of fun astrology stuff. We will get the link somewhere out here for you, either in the description, or we'll put it into the chat. So if you want to go and see all my funny shitposting astrology stuff that I've created, take a look. Those are all on my website now. All right, so let's go ahead and look at the aspects piece by piece. All right, so you know, obviously we have the sun and the moon oppose each other. So that is that polarity, that opposition. I'll get into the Sabian symbol because I do want to talk to you guys about that. But fives are always about drama, romance, creativity, playfulness. Romance is really what I think of when I think of fives. So there can be this explosion of romantic stuff going on. Hello, Venus square Neptune. But also creativity is going to be on high. Now, the next aspect we have is going to be Mercury in Gemini, and that is the square to Neptune in Pisces. So Mercury in Gemini is like travel, electronics, laptops, computers, phones, all kinds of digital things. And the squares that they're making to Neptune, literally today, it's like it literally manifested for me right before we were filming. I spilled my coffee all over, all near my iPad, all near all of my stuff. So Neptune square to Mercury. Be careful when it comes to electronics and liquids, y'all. Be careful when it comes to drinking and driving. You have no business doing that or having anything in your system, drug or liquid, alcohol-wise, and being in motion. Lots of people are going to be in this Neptunian haze and they're daydreaming, they're not paying attention, maybe they're sleepy. Just be really careful when it comes to those squares and just being a little bit more accident prone, right? So then the next aspect that we have is the Venus and Gemini square. We talked about that a little bit, but I see that as also being a lot of dreaming of other people, dreaming and having visions of people from the past, like thinking about somebody and then hearing from them. Now, on a creative standpoint, if you're an artist, if you're a painter, if you're a dancer, if you're a poet, if you're a musician, this is awesome. We are going to have this square for a couple of days. Wonderful time to break out the paint set, get creative, maybe have a glass of wine, listen to some music, and relax. We want to use it more in a creative way. We don't want to lean into the Venus-Neptune square where we are double dipping and having a tendency to kind of have more than one romantic partner going on at a time. Or it can be that you are being deceived. I don't like saying that, but that's the truth. Mars in Cancer is also in the mix. And Mars is actually at the time of the moon making a trine to Neptune. Mars wants to go somewhere, right? It wants to do something. Mars in Cancer is more emotional. So I see this more as being something like wanting to emotionally protect, wanting to plan, wanting to focus on domestic things. So with that trine to Neptune, at least it grounds it out a little bit and it gives us the opportunity to start putting our emotions into action, right? What we're doing around our home, where we're living, action with the family. Mars and Neptune also is just a lot of activity around water. So when these two get together, I think maybe a lot of people are going to be like, I'm hitting the beach, I'm using the jet skis, I'm going on the boat, I'm, booking the cruise. Lots of fun stuff involving water is going to start happening, and adding that heat of Mars in with Cancer, I do think that's going to show us probably warmer weather in a lot of parts of the world. Obviously, the world is already heating up because we are getting ready to transition from spring into summer. But we're going to see probably a lot of heat and a lot of water. So this may produce like monsoons, thunder and rain clouds and all of that stuff, but really heavy, high temperatures. So a lot more moisture, a lot more stickiness, a lot more humidity. Be aware of that. And then we've got Saturn in Aquarius square Uranus in Taurus, which we've been talking about all year. Basically, this is going to be structure, Saturn in Aquarius, structure, limitation, modern things, squaring Uranus in Taurus, which is values. I was thinking about this the other day when I was meditating, and I guess the easiest way that I can simplify this is you benefit from thinking about, meditating, reviewing what your values are, and deciding if you want to live in a world where you let society or the man or the world at large determine your wealth or your value. And this is so interesting because it's manifested big time as a result of the cryptocurrency craze. And certainly when we had the squares in February, we saw that crazy stuff happen with the Robinhood traders, and they all stuck it to, to the market and made money. What you are going to see is next month, we have the second of 3 Saturn-Uranus squares. Big change is going to happen in June, as if we don't see that enough with an eclipse and a retrograde. But there will be moments in the month ahead where you have to ask yourself if you're living in a mindset where you have less than, or you don't have enough, or you're not abundant. That's what we want to move away from. We are moving into a future where wealth, equality, health, happiness, beauty is going to be something that is a God-given right to everybody. And we're going to start acting on that, and we're going to start really focusing on that equality. And I think wealth distribution, and we're going to start seeing that wealth and abundance is looked at from a very different perspective, not just numbers and decimal signs and money in the bank. Although we need money to make the world go round, this is this revolution that's happening where we are detaching on a society level and getting to where we're realizing that our home, our planet, our health, our organics, and all of these natural things are more important, helping us all get back to the basics and move away from materialism, moving away from consumerism. Watch my channel get flagged for that. Okay, so next up we've got Saturn Trine and Sextile the nodes. So I want you guys to think of like Saturn as a cement foundation, or Saturn as a heavyweight. When we have a Saturn trine or a sextile, Saturn is basically having a conversation between that angle and those placements or those planets, and he's laying the foundation for a solid future. So for us to be having Saturn trine the North Node, which we're getting ready to lose soon, by the way, because the North Node is going to the earlier degrees of Gemini, Saturn is saying, hey, I'm helping you move towards your future. I'm helping you lay a solid foundation. Here is the information. Here is the facts. Here is the commitment. Here is the reliability to be able to make these changes that you need. What I have loved about the end of May going into most all of June is all of these planets in Gemini, even in spite of what is going on with the retrograde, are making trines to Saturn. So Saturn does support our evolutionary growth. He does support our maturity, and he wants to bring us stability. Now Saturn sextile the South Node, and also it's in a loose sextile to the moon. It is an emotional purge, a clearing, a letting go. Saturn in Aquarius can be cold, detached, aloof, right? So it's like helping us go, meh, that doesn't serve me anymore. I think I'm going to be okay. I don't necessarily need that. I don't, and between Aquarius and Sag, it's kind of funny because it's like, you could make a new group of friends who teach you something new, who help you explore a new place, who introduce you to somebody who changes your whole perspective. And on an emotional level, it helps you move away from what you thought you knew. So that's why I love Saturn in Aquarius during this eclipse. I love that it's really helping us move towards new collective goals. Hello. Hi, everybody. Hi, people from Canada, people from Africa. Awesome. Good morning, good afternoon, and I guess good evening in some parts of the world. Thank you guys for joining me. And then next we're moving to Neptune in Pisces, sextile Pluto in Capricorn. So what I like about any Neptune Capricorn energy is Capricorn is reality. Capricorn is long-term goals. Capricorn is dedicated, focused, and can in a way lay the groundwork for the imagination train of Neptune and Pisces. Now these are two outer planets, right? Pluto is about death, regeneration, rebirth, and it can also be dealing with toxins. And right now Pluto is retrograde. So we are now looking at all of the things in our life that's not working, that's decaying, that's broken down, that's taking our power away. With that sextile to Neptune, it's really allowing us to detox, purge, clear on a spiritual level, clearing in a sense of removing power struggles or things that make us feel like we are powerless. Super kind of otherworldly and very potent in a sense of this Pluto and Neptune energy working together. It can be very powerful in helping us become aware of our personal power, but it can also be quite Neptunian, and there can be some covert, things going on beneath the surface that are quite sinister and quite nasty. So you want to be careful with that energy. Next month, we're seeing Mars come into an opposition with Pluto, and that's definitely going to get highlighted. So we'll talk about that a little bit more and why that'll be the trigger point for killing certain things off in our life and releasing them and letting them go and having to take swift action and releasing. We're not there yet. We'll be there soon. And then last but not least, we have Chiron and Aries, trine and sextile the nodes. Chiron and Aries, helping us heal on a personal level, taking responsibility for our own wounds, moving through them. Now Chiron has moved up in degrees and he is hanging out around the 11-degree mark. The fact that it trines the South Node, it trines the moon, is a collective emotional healing, especially when it comes to domestic issues, feminine issues. You know, while Sag is not a feminine sign, the moon being involved tells us that we are taking not just initiative, but we're being brave when it comes to really embracing our shadow side and learning through the pain and moving through the pain and learning to release emotional issues. Chiron is also sextiling Gemini. So what's so cool about this is as we collectively go through detachment, loss, endings, banishing of certain emotional negativity, we then can share that information with Chiron sextile the North Node and soon the Sun. And that can be so therapeutic for writing, blogging, communicating, being a part of groups, sharing with other people. That's what's so cool about all this Gemini Sag stuff, is that we have the opportunity to take our own experiences and share with other people to really open things up and show others that we have the ability to create change. Change starts when we take a personal responsibility for healing ourselves rather than inflicting pain on other people and perpetuating that cycle of just affecting everybody because we're all connected. So it's quite lovely. I like it. Lots is going on with this eclipse. You guys are going to have to tell me what happens, because I don't know about you. Maybe it's because I have quite a few midpoints in Sagittarius. But like I totally last year, I was like, eclipses in Gemini and Sag, it's not going to affect me. I don't have any planets there. Oh my gosh. I feel like those eclipses affected me so much more than when I had eclipses on my personal planets in Cancer and Capricorn. So the world is changing, kids. It's time to get with the change, embrace the change, realize that we don't know everything. We don't know the bigger picture yet. And so much of our future, our destiny, our karma unfolds next month during the month of June. So do leave me messages. Let me know how it played out for you. Hopefully this is helpful and it resonated with you. If you like my reading style and you're into how I look at and work out and delineate the charts, and you would like to get a personal reading with me, check out my links below. Check out my website. You can get on my books. I think I have openings that start in July. I'm kind of a busy lady right now. But you can definitely get on there and you can get an appointment. My sessions are a combination of tarot and what I see clairvoyantly, as well as working with the chart. And I do it all. We can look at analyzing a natal chart. We can look at transits, solar returns, lunar returns, synastry, composite. Some of my favorite things to do would definitely be those synastry charts, especially if you're somebody who's really kind of going through it relationship-wise right now, or wondering what's going on between you and a partner. The synastry and the composite chart can be really insightful for helping you understand what the purpose is of a relationship. All right, so let's take a look at what's going to go on for each and every one of the 12 signs. I'm going to give you a little bit of insight as to how this eclipse is going to affect you, and I'm going to pull a card. So let's start with Aries. Aries, this eclipse is taking place in your 9th house. Your 9th house, full moon eclipse. What does that mean? Some of you guys are wanting to plan a trip, go somewhere, visit a place, maybe publish something, putting out a book, putting out a blog, completing some kind of legal matter, right? What I would say to you is this. Keep in mind that there's a lot of polarity in your 3rd house, which is the details. So if you're planning on going somewhere, double and triple check everything. Make sure that everything lines up. Make sure that you really can go. Have all the emails, conversations, phone calls, especially if you're planning on traveling with a friend, or maybe you're planning on renting a car, or maybe you're traveling with a sibling, or you're needing to go back and forth with a sibling. There can be a little bit of just the plans changing, and I would just say be flexible. Lots of options when it comes to traveling is what I keep feeling. It's going to be like right when you think you've got a plan, there's going to be like an app too that kind of pops up for you. But I like a full moon in your 9th house because it's the bigger picture. It's helping you become aware of where your life is going, right? And what your beliefs are. Okay, Knight of Swords. So yeah, it's a message, right? You're waiting on a message, you're waiting on an email, you're waiting on somebody to give you the green light. Knights are dedicated to their cause. They get on their horse and they charge into battle. Knight of Swords deals specifically with intellect, information, knowledge, contracts, agreements. This makes me feel like somebody is going to try to rush you to make a decision. And the eclipse is saying, like, hold on, take a step back, don't rush through things. Even if somebody is pushing you, do not get rushed into making this decision or telling somebody, yes, we will do this, or no, we won't do that. Look at all the facts before you do it. It can also be you dealing with a Gemini, you dealing with a Libra, or maybe an Aquarius, somebody who comes in and needs to get some kind of information or okay from you. Take your time, Aries, don't rush. Watch your words too, because that Knight of Swords can be some really intense conversations. For Taurus, so this eclipse is taking place in your your 8th house. Your 8th house with oppositions to planets in your 2nd. So for you, this is intimacy and your sex life, your money, your joint resources. This is about intimacy and really, I think, with the oppositions to the 2nd house, learning how to communicate values and what's important. And it's important for you to match your words and your actions. If you say you're going to do something, you have to do it. If you say you feel a certain way, you have to show it. You have to put your money where your mouth is if you're talking about making investments. Now, the 8th house is about your partner's money, and it's also about your shadow self. And for the retrograde to be going through your 2nd soon tells me that this is going to be a month where there is a lot of you having to go back and forth with another person, either in matters of intimacy and fears and moving through that, or security and figuring out some plans when it comes to your money and your joint finances. The Hanged Man. Okay? So what this tells me is that for you personally, it's like you feel like you're in between, like you're in limbo. Like, it tells me that you're getting ready to make some big changes in your life. It's important not to stall out or to be stagnant. It's important not to avoid having certain conversations. It's important not to not communicate any fears that you have about finances or any fears that you have about intimacy with a partner, because I could see that hangman as being like, well, I'm just not going to say anything. Everything will be fine. No. When there is an eclipse that's taking place in your 8th house, all the skeletons have to come out the closet. Everything. You have to clear all of that stuff out. And that is a card that talks specifically about Neptune and what's going on with Neptune and the squares to Neptune. Don't hold back. Don't be deceptive. Don't keep secrets. It's all going to come out the closet, Taurus. All right. Gemini. Happy birthday, Gemini. I hope it is a good one for you. So Gemini, this is your 7th house that you are having an eclipse in, and it is a full moon. So basically, anything goes in the next couple of days and or weeks when it comes to your relationships. Big things are happening with your relationships. You may start a relationship, end a relationship, meet somebody that totally blows your socks off, get engaged, get married. Any of these things can be happening for Geminis. Big, big, big relationship things. And when there's a lot of energy in your 7th opposing your 1st, it's almost like you have somebody who's ready to move forward, or you have somebody who wants to partner with you in some way. And I see the retrograde and everything happening within your 1st house is like, oh my gosh, do I want this? Like, am I ready for this? Like, am I really ready to commit in this way? Am I really moving forward this seriously? Like, I don't know how to tell this person how I really feel. Or if a partner puts you on the spot and asks you, you know, what are we doing? You're going to be like, I don't know. Take your time. Realize that it's actually just as much about the other person as it is about you. And you may need until next month through that retrograde to fully kind of figure out how you feel about another person. But during the eclipse, there's going to be a lot of action from somebody else. 4 of Swords. Okay, so this tells me that this is not an ending card. This is a card that can manifest as a break. This can be a card that manifests as taking a step back, taking a rest, feeling overwhelmed by a relationship situation. Four of Swords can be 4 weeks, so it's not necessarily that long. It may mean that you need some time away to reflect on whether or not you're ready for a relationship. This can also be a partner who is separate from you in some way. They can be traveling, they could be staying somewhere else. They could also need your assistance and your help. If you have a partner that's exhausted, overwhelmed, tired, emotionally drained, going through an ending, going through a loss, they may need you to be there for them, and they may not necessarily be the strong, sassy, independent person that you're used to seeing. They may be more calm, collected, maybe a little bit down, dealing with an ending and needing your support. All right, so let's get into Cancer. Cancer, this is an eclipse taking place in your 6th house. This is about getting down to details, organization, health, wellness. You know, it does have this opposition that's going on to planets that are in your 12th, and that tells me where your mental health and your fears or whatever can be in a way hindering you from really getting a job done. It can tell me that you're actually needing to rest a little bit before you see some shift happening in your life and you just go ham with your career and you start working a lot. I see this also as like, you know, clutter can be kind of all around and kind of keeping you mentally distracted and keeping you from being able to get organized and get the job done. So when there's an eclipse happening in your 6th house, you may have to travel for work. You may have a new place that you're working from. You may be getting an idea of the bigger picture when it comes to traveling. You want to make sure that your health is in, you know, top priority, so you can do all of the things that you need to do this summer. Pets fall under this part of your chart as well. So some of you guys may need to be making arrangements for pets to see a vet, or maybe if you're traveling, you need to figure out somebody who can watch your pet, or, you know, organize your house, or even water the plants, you know, all of those details that you need to kind of get ready. For you, I get the Queen of Coins. So this is really nice because this tells me that there is both a emotional and a physical shift that's going on. I see Ace of Coins with the 6th house, Queen of Coins with the 6th house eclipse as your health, your wellness, your diet. This can also be a woman that comes into your life and helps you in some way financially, or helps you when it comes to taking better care of your health. It can be a trainer, it can be a life coach, this can be a dietitian, it can be a new doctor. And it also does talk about, because coins have some aspect of the physical, as making changes to your skin routine, making changes to your diet, making changes to paying better attention to your weight and your health. This is going to be somebody who can help you do this. All right, so now we've got Leo, and this is a eclipse taking place in your 5th house. How romantic, Leo! So romantic. I love Sag eclipse in the 5th house for you. I feel like it's about surprise, you know, getaways with a lover. It's about, you know, creative projects really coming into full bloom. It's about falling in love, being expressive, maybe even having an adventurous, new romantic partner in your life. Babies too, eclipses, babies. Leo, lots of babies for Leo. The Devil. So this tells me, first of all, when it relates to the 5th house, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Many Leos, I think, are going to be faced with their dating habits or their relationship patterns and asking themselves, like, am I addicted to this person? Like, am I addicted to this person? Like, is it good that I'm that stuck on this person? Should I be around them this much? I can't stop thinking about them. What's going on? Like, I can't get enough of them. Is this a good situation? Am I too vulnerable? What's happening? Thank God that you have this opposition and all this stuff going on in your 11th house. What it's saying is watch out for the temptation of falling into like a situationship, or going back and forth with somebody without having it defined. it is going to be hard to keep your feelings in check during this eclipse because you're just going to be bursting at the seams with like, I want sex, I want attention, I want affection. And thankfully your 11th house, which is all of your friends, can give you that back and forth kind of feedback that's like, what's going on with you? You're being crazy. Like, you know, ever since you started seeing this person, like, we don't see you so much anymore, or you're kind of getting sucked into this relationship, or let us meet him. Listen to what's going on with your social group. Don't get too stuck or fixated on somebody. Make sure that it's a healthy balance. This can also be you dealing with releasing a creative project. I could see this as being something you're having to put work into and feeling like you're a slave to whatever you're building or whatever you're creating. Or you could be dealing with a Capricorn. Okay, so watch out for that, Leo. And Virgo. Virgo, this is your 4th house. You've got an eclipse here. Many of you guys are going to have big events going on within the family. Some of you guys are actually going to be moving, selling a house, finding a new place, having something going on with a property, visiting family, having family visit you. Something like that is going to be happening. With the squares to your 7th and the oppositions to your 10th, holy cow, it's going to be like there's so much change going on for you emotionally. There's so much change going on for you in terms of your career. Some of you guys may be having changes with where you're living because of the impending changes going on at work. So be mindful that this is a bit of a topsy-turvy next couple of weeks ahead for you. All right. The moon, mama. So this is dealing with mom stuff, your emotions, your intuition. The 4th house is like a super sensitive place because that's our private life. That's what people don't see about us. That's what people don't, like, they're not aware of. So the moon tells me that there's some information that's going to be released that you are going to be aware of that's going to make you feel full. It can make you feel anxious. It can make you feel very emotional. It can make you feel like you need a clearing, a cleansing. Take a bath, Virgo. Soak in some water. Stay up with your liquids. If you need to cry it out, cry it out. If you need to release something, let it go, let it go. Your intuition will guide you. The moon is an interesting card. Super magical, very mystical. It talks about at nighttime and everything that becomes illuminated because of the moon. And the moon is our intuition. It's our emotional body. Those of you who know your natal chart, I want you to look at how this eclipse is actually affecting your natal moon or your 4th house. So you don't have to be a Virgo rising. You could just be a Virgo. Look at what's going on with your moon and also your 4th house, because it seems like there's a little bit more of something that's brewing within your natal chart there. All right, Libra. This is an eclipse happening in your 3rd house. And it's got some oppositions to your 9th, which tells me there's all of the facts and all of the details and all of the things that it's almost like you're having to wrap something up that has to do with like a contract, maybe something you're learning, something you're writing. It can be a real important conversation you have with a sibling. And it's all in polarity to your 9th house. And over the next month, Libra, you're going to find that all of the planets that are kind of gangbusters in Gemini and the eclipse is going to give you the next chapter of where you're going. Many Libras will benefit from starting a course, learning something, expanding on their professional knowledge, traveling, going on a trip, going on a sabbatical, you know. And I think it's going to be really good because it's going to help you also plan for trips that are going to be taking place later in the year. A 3rd house eclipse, though, can bring about issues with a vehicle. You want to be really careful when you're driving, okay? Like really, really careful when you're driving, because a South Node eclipse there makes me feel like you could get rid of a vehicle. You could let something go. You could release something. This is also about stuff that deals with like emails, electronics. You might upgrade something. There may be something like that. I do recommend, if you're going to do that, wait until the end of next month. Do it at the end of June. You'll thank me later. 3 of Pentacles comes up for you. So thankfully, this is about you getting the work done, Libra. There is something that you started that you did not complete. You need to complete this. There is something that you've been perfecting, that you've been working on, and it is valuable. This is something that also maybe you've been like delaying. I think you started it like 3 months ago. It's time to get the show on the road, because I do feel like this is something that needs to come out by the end of summer. It does involve some creative project or some business project or some money-making opportunity. 3 weeks, 3 months, get it done, Libra, get it out there. All right, so now we've got Scorpio. Scorpio, this is a full moon in your second house. Money, finances, abundance, all that fun stuff. With all this funky energy to your 8th house, Scorpios are having to confront issues that they have with intimacy, issues that they have with joint resources. There may be some aspect of you getting a big payout, you getting a raise, maybe you making a larger purchase. Realize that with all the opposition going on in your 8th house, you need to really make sure you're not breaking the bank. You need to make sure that you're not putting too much money on a credit card. You need to be focused on also paying things off, or talking or discussing a large purchase before you make it with a partner. This is tax stuff too, so be mindful if you do get a big payout. You need to be aware of the tax implications. Stick to a budget. If there's more money coming in, it doesn't mean all the money should be going out. Don't go ham, Scorp. Knight of Cups. So this is going to take on more of an emotional feel then. So the second house can be about not just money, but sensuality, physical touch, what tastes good, what feels good. I mean, a full moon there in Sag means like you're indulging maybe in spending money on going on a trip, or you're indulging in spending money on something that you feel like is going to emotionally make you feel better, or something that you want to learn. However, with Mercury going retrograde and all this action in your 8th house, it's going to have you in your feels. And so I don't want to see you like emotionally spending or emotionally binging. It's also going to have you thinking a lot about sex and what the difference is between sex and intimacy, and actually really building intimacy versus just having a physical connection. So there can definitely be a little bit more of like you clinging on to something because it feels good, but it may not necessarily nourish your soul. With this card, it is talking about an emotional connection. It can be with another water sign, or this can be you that's basically opening you up and making you vulnerable and saying, I want to share. I want to share resources. I want to share my feelings. I want to share money. I want to share my fears. Whatever it is, be open and be willing to go and actually proceed forward, even if it's in territory that's a little bit uncomfortable and it makes you feel vulnerable. I think that's good for Scorpio. Scorpio kind of needs to get rattled every now and then, you know? All right. So Sag, this is your time, my dear Saggies. Eclipse in your sign, man, whether you're a sun, moon, rising, this is just going to pack a punch. It's going to have you feeling super happy, optimistic, like everything's coming together. And it's not going to come without the catches, okay? Because the catches are going to be your 7th house, where there's retrogrades and eclipses and things going on. It's almost as if right when you start feeling good, and right when you start feeling like, okay, I'm on top of the world, I'm awesome, everything's come together, we're straight, I'm independent, I'm doing my thing, there will be people from your past who will come and knock on the door and go, are you sure you don't want to come back? Are you sure you don't want to go back down that path? And whether you see them on social media, you run into them on the street, maybe you get a phone call from them, maybe you have a dream about them, or something that just triggers you and makes you think about the past, it'll have you questioning whether or not you want to go back there, whether or not you believe in love, whether or not you're open to relationships. Yeah, I'm reading what people are saying. Sag Sun, natal node, pay attention, because the nodes are definitely karmic. So let's see. So for you, Sag, this is your first house, and it can change how you look, something about your body, your appearance, how you present yourself to the world. There can be big changes in your hair, your clothing, and just how you show yourself to the world. You might have more energy and attention on you. Great time to be updating your look, taking photos of yourself, presenting something to the world, really taking center stage. Do pay attention to how your body feels. Sometimes I see with these eclipses that it's just the day before and after, like on a couple days on each side of the eclipse, you're much more sensitive than usual. You're much more prone to accidents than usual. And just lots of energy is going through your first house. So take your time, do not rush, and be very in tune with the commitments you made to yourself, to your body last year. Don't let anybody fuck with that. You need to keep other people out of that. Once again, Knight of Swords. Watch your mouth. This makes me feel like you're going to be a little sensitive and you're going to be a little confrontational. This is also an air sign. So it's talking about somebody challenging you or somebody having something to say. This can be your 7th house eclipses and the retrograde that's going on next month, where we're already in this energy. Maybe you're reviewing and reflecting on a relationship that you had and how far you've come since you've been in that relationship. And then you have to ask yourself if you're going to be defensive and if you're going to be on the defense and not let somebody back into your life. Relationships are a theme for you right now with all of the energy in your 7th house. And just because things didn't work in the past doesn't mean that you should close your heart off to this. An important message is coming. It can be some kind of closure. It can be some sense of somebody being like, hey, you know what? I just wanted to clear the air. I don't see you going back, and I'm going to keep reiterating this for you in the months ahead. This is about you sticking to what you committed to yourself and releasing everything else. Watch your words. Be kind in how you communicate. I know that you guys are sassy, especially those Sag risings, or maybe even the Sag risings with Sag Sun or Sag Mercury. Stick to what you believe in. Don't be pushing on other people. Don't push your beliefs on other people. Stay in your lane. All right. So for Capricorn, this is an eclipse happening in your 12th house, which can be a little funky because this can bring up stuff that you never saw coming. It can bring endings you never saw coming. It can bring really, really significant dreams, insights into the future, right? So let's take a look at what's going to happen for you, Capricorn. Do pay attention to your mental health, your emotional health. Some of you guys may unexpectedly have travel that's happening, or you're having to go somewhere suddenly. It's very possible that some of you guys just need more rest. You want to be careful with eclipses in the 12th house because you're more predisposed to having emotional distress, sleep disturbances. You just need to stay down a little bit more. So be mindful of that. It is in opposition also to your 6th, where there is a retrograde. So Cap, you need to pay attention to your health. There can be some health issues that come up in the months ahead. 8 of Wands. This tells me things are moving quick. It's almost like there's so much stuff coming at you at one time that you get overwhelmed and you're like, oh my gosh, I need to take a step back. It is trying to send you in a different direction. This is basically saying that energetically things need to change. If you're having a lot of mental or emotional distress, you need to get moving. You need to get your body moving. And when I think of Gemini, I think of going on walks, walking around the neighborhood, and listening to your AirPods and listening to your self-help books or your latest Taylor Swift album, like whatever it is that you listen to. I don't think Cap would listen to that, but whatever. Get moving, go for walks, focus on breathing. You'll notice that in the month ahead, this is about just integrating more, taking time to move throughout the day, not sitting at your desk 24/7, not hanging out in bed all weekend, needing to get out and about and moving your legs and finding something that's just going to shift this energy. So that's positive for Capricorn. For Aquarius, this is an eclipse taking place in your 11th house. This is a fun eclipse. This is like parties, friends, celebrations, maybe going somewhere to visit friends, maybe friends from out of town coming to visit you. Fun stuff going on here. It's all in opposition to a bunch of energy in your 5th house. So it definitely does deal with like creativity, romance, fun, dating. But I see an eclipse in your 11th as some kind of completion of a wish or a goal. Celebrating. Some of you guys may be celebrating that you're completing a program. 9 of Swords. So that tells me like some fear and anxiety revolving around whether or not something's going to come through. Okay? Realize that what it is that you're manifesting and what it is that you want will come through. hang on, stay, and just wait for some of the transits that are happening next month, because I feel like next month is when there's going to be clarity with all of that yummy energy with your sister sign of Gemini. This can also be talking about like sleep disturbances, nightmares, there being something that kind of pops up that you're like, oh my gosh, how is this going to play out? What's going to happen? What's going to go on? Everything's going to be fine. Nine of Swords is purely mental, and nines represent some kind of challenge or lack of faith. So there is a need to maintain faith. 11th house is about leaning on friends. And if you've got Saturn in the 11th house, you have some very knowledgeable, very philosophical friends that definitely can keep the faith, keep the momentum. You can lean on them. You can talk to them when you need some assistance. They are there to help you. Reading what you guys are saying. Capricorn rising, went to the ER for my first time. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I mean, it's the eclipse, Micah. It's the eclipse. I'm telling you, that's what this is. Lots of Caps are having this right now. Those anxiety attacks are scary. You can feel like you're having a heart attack. All right, so for Pisces, last but not least, my little fishes. Pisces, holy cow, this is an eclipse in your 10th house. This is a big deal. There are things going on with your career, big things, big opportunities in publishing, traveling, exposure, people seeing what you're doing. I mean, does it get any better than that for Pisces? A 10th house eclipse in Jupiter in your ascendant. The one thing is I think you're going to be feeling pulled from different angles, where there's a lot of energy also going on in your 4th house. So there can be some sense of being like, okay, I can't be everywhere at one place. I got to be here and I got to be there, and being pulled in two separate directions. Especially because that retrograde that's going to be happening is going to be within your 4th house. So it's going to deal with like, do I want to live here or do I want to live there? You know, focus on work first, focus on the domestic, the home stuff, all of that stuff next month. High Priestess. Your vision, Pisces, your vision, okay? Jupiter is in Pisces, so it is about what do you believe in? What do you see? You're super intuitive. You don't even need to be dreaming to peek into the future. How are your intuitive hits, your visions, your beliefs really shaping how big you think you can go with your career? Because there's no limit with Jupiter in Pisces. There's no limit. So it's almost as if this next 6 weeks period, there is a magnification in your life, and it's going to seem like you are getting bigger, your dreams are getting bigger, your work is getting bigger. Pay attention to your intuition. Realize that, like the High Priestess, sometimes you have to trust and believe and sit and allow things to come to you. The High Priestess is a bad bitch. She is not going to go out there and make things happen. She's not like the magician. She's not going to throw her weight around like the emperor. She just sits between the pillars of knowledge, and she knows that inevitably whatever she has seen is going to come into fruition. So, important time for you to be really putting a huge emphasis and really looking at being able to manifest your dreams and knowing and trusting and believing that everything that you deserve is coming to you. Amazing. I've got a couple of minutes here, so if you guys do want, I am now set up with a super chat. So if anybody has a quick question, I have a few minutes that I can answer a couple questions, either with the cards or for your particular chart. Do let me know. Otherwise, this is going to be a really interesting month ahead. I am quite interested to see where we're at in about 2 weeks' time, because I believe that where we sit right now and where we're going to be in about 2 weeks is going to be night and day. And hold space for that new information that's coming in. Hold space for that transition, that transformation, for that flexibility, for new things coming into your life. Because I think in a lot of ways people are like, oh yeah, it could be this. But it's like Jupiter's going to say, no, it's going to be so much bigger. And yeah, just like new things. If you like my style, you want to book a reading, check out my links below. Check out all of my stuff below. You can find my social media. You can follow me. A lot of people know me on Instagram as the Astrology Meme Queen. Check it out. Otherwise, I will be back, and I'll be chatting with you guys next week, and we'll talk a little bit about what is going to be going on in the month of June. I guess technically my monthly video is probably going to be coming up next, and we'll do a little bit of an overview of what's going to go on all month long. If you guys have any questions, comments, or if there's anything that you want to know about in the month ahead or anything in regards to astrology, let me know. Leave some comments below. I like interacting with you guys, and I will definitely kind of sort and sift through what you guys are asking about to create new content in the weeks ahead. Thank all of you guys so much for being here. I love you. I love being on YouTube and internet land, and I will be back very soon. I hope this eclipse treats all of you guys very well. Until next time, I will see you. Take care.